This podcast is rated E for explicit and by category of true crime contains language and descriptions of crimes not suitable for young or sensitive listeners. On the western edge of central Indiana sits Vigo County. The county seat, Terre Haute, is most known as being home of USP Terre Haute, a federal penitentiary known for housing and executing the most notorious killers in the United States. It is not known for murder. But on October 2nd, 1985, a young mother named Marcie Fuller Swinford disappeared while out running errands. Her body would be discovered several days later in a wooded area, miles from her recovered car. 35 years later, the case remains unsolved. This is part 1 of Who Killed Marcie, and this is the Cold Case Chronicles.
I know your secret, I know the truth, I know your secrets and I'm telling on you.
Terre Haute is actually, is it weird that I say Terre Haute because you're looking at me son?
It is,
weird.
just because when I lived there, we called it Tahoe.
Okay, well, I'm not going to call it.
Tahoe.
I never lived there, but I'm not going to call it that.
Okay.
But that's where Indiana State University is. There's also Rose-Hulman and St. Mary of the Woods, Ivy Tech's there. So there's a lot of colleges. It's a pretty big college town. Terre Haute is right next to our neighbors there in Illinois. So it's right there on the state line for all of you non-geographical people like myself.
So back in the day,
which is on the west side of Indiana.
Yes. Thanks.
You know, the state that's going to attack us from the left.
Depends if you're looking at the map or out of the map.
Yeah.
Always at it.
Because you know people love when we talk about geography on this podcast.
It's to the left.
We get lots of great reviews when we talk about geography.
So the thing about Terre Haute is obviously we have a lot of people that we like that are from there and amazing people. Larry Bird went to school at ISU, right?
Yes.
And if you don't know who that is, then Google it, but he's a basketball player. But Terre Haute is known as the Terrible Haute, and that's because they have a prison there, and they have those 3 colleges we mentioned, which 2 of them are very pretty prestigious schools. Rose-Hulman is a really good engineering school, right?
3 of them are really good for partying, so you can find a party every day of the week.
And St. Mary of the Woods is a really good. It's private school, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then ISU is a good school, but it's a college school in Terrible Haute.
Yeah. Me and my friends called it I Screwed Up.
I literally know more than one person who has had their car stolen from in Terre Haute. I guess it's called Terrible Haute because, in my opinion, it's not even an opinion. It's just a lot of crime happens.
There is a pretty high crime rate. And I think that's going to go with college campuses, period. You know, you are getting a lot of...
I mean, they don't have as many murders as IU, but...
That's true. No, sure? I don't think they do. I think ISU's and all the other colleges around, I think it's limited to typical college crimes,
but you
vandalism.
So many people and crowd them into one area, plus throw a federal penitentiary in the middle of it.
And then throw a bunch of underage drinking.
Yeah, you're going to have a pretty high crime rate.
So last year, back when I was having to go work in Clinton, which is 20 minutes north of Terre Haute, I passed through the main drag of Terre Haute, and the traffic is terrible. But there's this ice cream place there that's really good. And they have a Dunkin' Donuts, which I can't say that for Indy.
I have really good memories there, of the time that I had to be carried home from Oktoberfest.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's pretty much it.
And then that prison is known for killing people. So that's good in my book.
Who did we kill there?
They just had a couple executions
Timothy
within the month, right?
Timothy McVeigh, who was the Oklahoma City bomber.
Dylan Roof is there right now.
Oh,
the
really?
Is that the kid who
shot up the black church in South Carolina?
Yeah, let's kill him. Let's
scary.
all jump on board and get him killed. I'm all for the death penalty. If you're on death row, what are we waiting for? Let's move that along.
So did Dylan Roof get the death penalty, or is he just life in prison?
No, he got the death.
So that's a fun fact. And another fun fact about that prison.
That's a happy fact.
That's a happy fact. This is another fun fact. The Terre Haute prison experiment in 1943, the prisoners there were given $100 if they wanted to be given syphilis. And the way that they got syphilis was not through sex, but the Terre Haute police would get the syphilis that they got from sex workers that they had arrested. So doctors would come in and take the syphilis from the sex workers that had been arrested.
The 40s were fucked up.
I know. Isn't that like the
So wait,
best
how would
fun
they get
fact
them?
ever?
They just like push it
And
on
then they yeah, they just like
stab them?
yeah, no, they would just get it on like a swab and then put it on the tip of their
What are
penis.
they going to do with but $100 in
On their pen
1943?
I mean, $100 in $100 in prison is a lot of money.
And in 1943.
Right.
That was like a
That's like $1,000 now,
that's
isn't
a
it?
Nazi experiment though, actually.
It is. It's awful. It's a horrible thing to do to someone. And especially not to know if you're going to actually get a placebo or an actual drug that's going to help you out.
That's
because
wild.
You're going to be in some serious pain, I'm assuming. Not that I have syphilis, but I'm assuming it's not something very comfortable. That's another fun fact. And now we'll get down to the case.
So now we know antibiotics cures that.
Now
Thanks,
we know
Terre
all
Haute.
That
about
may
Terre
have
Haute
started
prison.
the downfall of Terre Haute,
Yeah,
honestly.
when you give people syphilis, that kind of puts a damper on
It
your
is a damper.
reputation. Well, we were contacted by someone who listens to the podcast, and they told me that they had a family member and basically a lot of their family that had been affected by an unsolved murder, and they reached out and said, hey, would you consider covering this? And after I looked into it, it was a no-brainer because I felt like this was definitely a case that was in our forte. So this is about Marcie Fuller. Marcie Fuller is her maiden name, and when she was born on April 9th, 1964, she was the second child from the youngest out of 7 children. So her siblings were very protective over her. She was almost the baby. So in a family of 7, they were super protective. At the age of 21, Marcie had a 4-year-old daughter, a 2-year-old son, and a set of twins that were almost 1. That's a handful. Loving being a mom, that was the thing for her. She loved it. She was a great mom. She loved her children. All of her family that I've talked to have said, that was the one thing that they could all say about her was that she loved her kids and she loved being a mom. She'd been married to her 2-year-old's father, and they had been going through a pretty messy split. At the time of her death, her name was Marcie Fuller Swinford because she still had his last name. The summer prior to her death, her sister told me that she has been haunted by this question that Marcie had asked her the year prior, and she said, if something happens to me, will you take my daughter? And
As a mom, though, I've said that to my sister-in-law,
I know.
though. Like, we don't have a will, but, like, we're like, you're taking our kids, just so you know.
And isn't
Right.
that what the premise of like quote godparents is that that's like the de facto, like if something were to happen to you and your spouse, the godparents would take the kids.
it is, but the only thing that's weird about that statement, because I agree, and I said something similar to her. First of all, don't put that guilt on yourself, because you just can't. And second of all, I've said that as well. Hey, if something happens to me, can you take the kids? But in this case, asking if you could take one child and not
Why did she ask for just the daughter?
because the son belonged to the husband that she was fighting with at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So he, of course, would have gotten the son or would have taken him. I don't know. It's just a weird situation to ask, hey, would you take this child?
Yeah, I
And-
didn't even realize that it was just daughter.
Yeah, it was just the
so-
one. She was trying to start over again after this situation with her husband. She was dating again. She was dating one guy in particular. She was living with her mom. Her mom helped her with the kids. So she had been staying with her mom, and that wasn't stopping her ex from being a total asshole. I have been doing homeschool. I'm really into equations. Being an asshole does not make you a murderer. That doesn't equal out the same thing. Being a murderer.
Did the math book tell you that?
Yeah, yes, it did. That's what homeschool teaches.
Okay.
But being a murderer does make you an asshole. So those things do
Yes,
equal out.
Not every
Good job.
asshole is a murderer.
But not every asshole is a murderer.
You need to
So it's-
homeschool more people.
I know, I really do. And you can sign up for my class at www.
You can also use this one. Not all white people die in hot air balloon accidents, but only white people die in hot air balloon accidents.
This is a true statement. So we're not saying right now that he is the one that did any of this, but he was being a true asshole to her. And I spoke to a member of her family who told me of an incident that she was there for. And she said that she was present when he broke into the mom's house where Marcie was living at the time, broke in through a window and grabbed one of her children by the leg and was holding him by the leg, threatening Marcie, saying, "You're never going to see him again."
What?
No,
So that tells you kind of the person that he was. And he also, right before Marcie disappeared, took this same child off the front porch and left with him, and she didn't see him.
And just
What?
Another thing he did was he went inside her house when she wasn't home. Now, this is allegedly because, of course, she wasn't there, but the assumption is there that it was him, and took all of her underwear from her house and broke her curling iron so that she couldn't look nice for someone else.
oh
That
my
sounds like
gosh.
something another woman would do and not a guy.
To me, it sounds like a jealous ex-husband because it sounds like something they would do to keep you from being pretty to see someone else. I don't know. I mean, it is crazy, but does it make you a murderer? No, it doesn't. There are people that have done crazy stuff like that before that didn't go on to kill their...
Right.
tell us about it.
Yeah, I know, right? I can tell you all about things I've done. No. So days before the disappearance, he did take one of the children. And then on August the 2nd, 1985, Marcie had planned to go out with her sister because she was getting back out again and hanging out. Now, her mom had agreed to watch their kids. She said, "Okay, I'll watch the kids, but I need you to go to the store and get some food and basic stuff for me to watch the kids tonight." So Marcie had told her she would go grab the items because she had to go to the store and exchange some pants. She left in her mom's car, and an hour goes by, 2 hours go by, nothing. She still hasn't come back yet. They start getting worried. They eventually call the police, and what do you think police say?
She's a runaway. She's a grown adult.
She's a grown adult. Yeah.
She can leave if she wants to. It's
She
none of your
can.
business.
That sounds just about right for Terre Haute police, at least when I was there.
Well,
I mean,
it's
they
all
looked the
police.
other way
It's
at
all
everything.
police.
especially back then.
Yeah.
Well, and they're like, "Oh, she's 21." Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
she's
Yeah,
right.
21.
she's
She can
running
go
Oh, she has
errands.
four
She
kids.
probably
She
got
wants
distracted.
a spa vacation.
Yeah, she can go missing if she wants to. She's 21.
Sometimes people just need a break.
Yes. And so that's what they tell her. And they said, this is the best. You can report your car missing, stolen, but if we find it, we're going to arrest her.
Wow.
Yeah, but you don't have
What?
to press charges, right?
Bastards.
Yeah, but the mom was like, I don't want to do that because I don't want her to get arrested.
It was the police.
Yeah. So they didn't want her to get arrested.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so she said, okay, I don't want to do that because, I mean, there is that little thing in the back of your head like, well, maybe she did just run
Yeah.
off and
Yeah.
do something, and I don't want her to get arrested. So you're torn as a mom.
Right.
I can see that. I mean, I don't think my kids would ever do something like that, but I would be afraid that what if they did just run off to somebody's house, and I don't want them to get arrested. So they didn't do that. 6 days later, they started looking around town, looking everywhere, trying to find her. They've called in siblings from out of state, Michigan, Florida. You know, they got other siblings in other places. They've called and they're all worried. So they all start coming into town because they know something's wrong. It's not like her to do
Right.
this. So 6 days later, their sisters are driving around looking, and there's her car. Her car was found just in a random location at 12th and Eagle Street. And in her car are the groceries she had purchased. The keys are in it. Her purse is still in it. And you know the jelly shoes that you wear in the 80s?
Those were the best.
Yes. Those were in there.
I bet they were clear or pink.
They were neatly on the little center console. Why would someone leave the car with the groceries in it, everything in the car, and you just disappear? And it
take
obviously
off on
wasn't
foot too, like barefoot. That doesn't make sense.
Barefoot, exactly. And obviously it wasn't a robbery because the purse is still there. So what's going on? So then the police are taking it seriously. Car's there, she's not there, something's going on. So they start looking for even more. They're even more concerned about it. They're worried about it. Well, 5 days after that, there were bicyclists, and they located her body, and it was 5.5 miles away from the car, and it was decomposed pretty badly because we're talking August in Indiana, and it was across the street from the penitentiary that we were talking about earlier, just thrown out like trash over into the woods. How did she get 5.5 miles from her car and why?
Shoes.
Without shoes, and why?
And she would never have like left her kids.
No.
If she was like happy to be a mom. Her kids are, even the youngest, are too old to have postpartum depression to blame it on like a temporary mental insanity.
It has to be something personal because there's no robbery aspect to it. There's no type of kidnapping. And we're going to go into other suspects because there are a lot of bad people around this area, around this time frame, that did a lot of kidnapping, a lot of murder. There's just a lot going on around this time frame that we can't ignore, even though it specifically looks like the ex-husband, or those are always the people that we look at first. You always look at someone closest to home. But
anytime there's any crime around Terre Haute, the first thing I think of is who did they just let out of the prison or the penitentiary?
That's true too. But again, if you just got out of the penitentiary, I would think they would have taken the car. Keys were in it, purse is in it.
Oh, that's a good call.
Where did her the boyfriend / exes work? Did they work at the penitentiary?
No, they did not work at the penitentiary. And one of the suspects we're going to talk about next week lived only 1.5 miles from where the body was found.
Okay.
And he also was with the sisters when the car was found. And he knew where it was.
Who found the car?
Him.
The sisters and this new suspect we'll talk about next week.
I can't wait.
God, my eyes are rolling so hard.
We'll have all that coming up on next week's episode, as well as a similar murder that happened about 5 years prior to this one that is remarkably similar to hers in both the car being left in a remote location as well as the body being tossed away.
So how was she killed?
The autopsy says that it was undetermined but a homicide.
What does her family say? Do they
Her
know?
family says that they would not release that information.
There had to be some major decomp happening.
They did. They said that it was undetermined and homicide, but that the decomposition was so bad that whenever they originally saw the body, they thought it was an African-American male because it had been decomposed so much and that animals had...
But I feel like they can find skeletons and figure out how they were murdered.
I
Sometimes,
do too.
yeah.
Something is definitely going on with that, and I'm trying to get in touch with the investigator right now because there's just a lot...
Unless there's
of
potential multiple ways.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that don't add up, and I want to make sure that I get it right because I don't want to spew out rumors about it, because I don't know if some of the things that the family have been told are rumors or if it's the truth, that it actually went down like that. Some things about the evidence being lost. And I want to make sure it's true before I say it, because I don't want to.
We respect that, Amy.
Yeah, and I respect the police department enough to make sure that I get the right information before I tell it.
So we don't know for sure right now.
Yeah, we don't know for sure right now. One thing that I am curious about is there was a website, the Department of Psychology or Radford, Virginia, that listed all these things about Larry Hall. You know how I feel about this, but no, I know. But, they list all the victims of Larry Hall, which I don't believe Larry Hall killed anyone, let alone Marcie. And it said that Marcie was strangled and sexually mutilated. I'm like, that's
Where'd they
funny.
get that info?
Yeah, where'd they get that? Because
probably went. Nope.
Yep.
Nope.
Yep. And so I just wonder how they know that whenever the family of the victim doesn't even know that. So that's interesting.
Seems like false information to me.
It does. The other thing on that note is her family contacted the guy who wrote the book on Larry Hall. And
you mean our friend?
And she asked him, why do you have in your book that Larry Hall killed Marcie? Like, how do you know this? He said, oh, I don't think that he did.
He just needed filler for his book.
Right.
So there's one reason why you should go read that book.
Yeah. There's one reason why you shouldn't give money to that book.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's good for you, Amy, for being like, we're going to go find out the right story, because
I know.
Is
that's
that
so stupid.
book classified as fiction?
It's classified as bullshit. Okay. I don't know. I don't even know what it's classified at, but everything in it, it's sci-fi. But I can tell you right now that Larry Hall didn't kill all those people, and you can write that.
That book is literally like any unsolved murder in Indiana. It was Larry Hall.
My favorite part is, it was near a
Civil War
reenactment or a grocery store or a college. It was Larry Hall. Dear Lord, that's every half centimeter in the state. Like,
no kidding.
That's everyone.
A cornfield.
Yeah.
A tree.
Yeah. It fits near a tree in
and
Indiana.
there was a van around the tree at the time.
Or a stalk of corn. Then it was definitely Larry Hall. Yeah.
So we don't know how she was killed for sure yet.
No.
And we don't know anything about sexual assault.
Her family was told that she was not sexually assaulted, but I don't know that for sure yet.
Do they know, like, if she had her clothes on when she was found?
Her clothes were on except for her shoes and socks. Oh. But the body had been just...
Do we know if they have DNA?
They had DNA, and according to some stories that the family has been told, the DNA that was on her clothes was laundered by the state lab, but then they contacted the state lab, and the state lab was like, no, that's a bunch of crap.
Why would they ever
we
do
don't
that?
even have we don't have
They're
a
like,
washer
we don't
and
do
dryer.
that.
Yeah. why would we do that? So that's one of the things I was talking about I don't know where what got mixed up in what. Like, I don't know if they said that because
this
maybe
looks dirty.
Yeah.
We were supposed
I'm going to do you a huge favor and go ahead and wash this for you.
It's kind of icky. Before I touch it, can you just clean?
I mean, I know they didn't really do a lot with DNA back then, but nobody's dumb enough to go throw something in a washing machine.
So
and
I did hear sometimes even like blood and stuff, like even if you wash it, you can still get blood out of it. So maybe the clothes are
my
still
thought is,
intact.
if that is true,
who's going to test this? Let's go bleed it.
Oh yeah. Who says that happened? If someone actually says that happened, I'm guessing that they're saying that to cover it up, the fact that they lost evidence.
Yeah. Which happens. Just admit it.
Absolutely.
Just
say it's lost. Like, that's less far-fetched than saying, oh, we washed it. Sorry.
Right. I mean, first of all, Danny's right. Don't lose it.
Yeah.
But if you lose it, God, it's just just be honest, okay?
Right.
If you murdered Marcie, just be honest. Let us know.
Yeah.
Just gotta lie about it.
Just stop lying.
Stop lying. Just call us. We're tired of people lying about killing people. If you kill someone, if you have the balls to kill someone, you should have the balls to come forward and say, I did it.
Yeah.
That's the moral of today's story.
As the crew begins to unpack the case, sift through the known facts, and create a suspect list, we hope the story unfolds. Please join us next week as the crew gets serious. If you have any information about the disappearance and murder of Marcie Fuller Swinford, please let us know via our website, coldcasechronicles.com, or via social media, Cold Case Chronicles on Facebook and Instagram, or at Cold Case Crew on Twitter. And as always,
have the day you deserve.
Especially if you're handing out syphilis.
I know your secrets and I'm telling on you.